We're going to turn now to that other major travel story tonight. The major delays at America's airports as security lines in some cases snake through concourses, downstairs, even into baggage areas at times. What's gone wrong? What's needed to fix it? Here's senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve.
This is not what Fliers hoped to see arriving at the New Orleans airport Monday morning. Only some TSA lines open due to staffing shortages stemming from soaring sick calls. The line snaking its way through the terminal for a second straight day. Sunday, people were in line for hours, stretching out into the parking garage.
I was here 3 weeks ago during Mardi Gras, and it was no problem. This is insane.
I had to change my flight, so rather than a 3 p.m. flight, it is now a 8 p.m. flight.
At Houston's Hobby Airport, wait times topped 3 hours Sunday, and by Monday, the line was still at least 2 hours long just to get to security.
We had missed both our flights.
Now some airports are telling flyers to get here at least 3 hours before their flights. This surge in wait times comes as the airlines are preparing to fly 171 million people for spring break, and as a partial government shutdown over the Trump administration's immigration policies enters its fourth week. The second prolonged government shutdown since October is taking a toll on some of the government's lowest paid workers. The more than 50,000 TSA officers on the job will miss a full paycheck this week and have no idea when the next one will come, driving the spike in sick calls.
We don't need a promise of a paycheck. We need a paycheck. We can't go to the bank with a promise.
With a political stalemate continuing in Washington, a trip to the airport means a flight of uncertainty at airports nationwide. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Phoenix.
Tonight, new reports of long lines at several American airports. This is Newark Liberty International, where flyers experience extended wait times at security. TSA agents are working without pay and losing patience fast. CBS's Tim McNicholas is there with major problems looming this spring break. Tim.
Good evening, Jerika. Many TSA workers live paycheck to paycheck, and this is now the third federal funding lapse in the last year. This time it's happening during the spring break travel rush.
Security starts here. From Austin, Texas to Philadelphia, New York City to New Orleans, travelers are running into long security lines and travel headaches.
I might miss the flight, and I have a connection to my hometown in Wisconsin.
Federal data shows more than 300 TSA employees have resigned during the partial shutdown. Unscheduled absences have doubled. The TSA says it's adjusting operations to deal with staffing challenges.
They're working other jobs, they're donating plasma, they're going to food banks when they get off work.
Johnny Jones is a TSA officer at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport and the secretary-treasurer of the union representing 45,000 TSA officers nationwide.
A lot of people, sometime in the middle of next week, they're going to run out of money. They don't have no way of getting to work. They won't have a car with gas to drive to work in.
Democrats have refused to approve the Department of Homeland Security's budget unless GOP lawmakers and the White House agree to changes to ICE, including requirements for agents to wear IDs and remove their masks.
Yesterday, DHS began playing this video in airports, blaming, quote, the ongoing Democrat shutdown of the TSA for longer than average wait times.
One thing that's pretty consistent that I've heard from the workforce, they are tired of being political pawns in the middle of a tug of war between the political parties that we have running our government.
Jones says even though officers feel demoralized, they are committed still to protecting the flying public. Now, keep in mind, if you miss your flight due to TSA delays, you are not eligible for a refund. That's considered outside the airline's control. Jerika.
All right. Good information. Thank you, Tim. Tonight, the CEOs of 10 major U.S. airlines are demanding Congress end a funding standoff and pay its TSA workers. In a letter, they claim 93% of Americans support paying aviation workers during government shutdowns. CBS's Tim McNicholas is at Newark International with the latest developments. Tim.
Good evening, Jerika. People are waiting hours to get through security at some airports, and TSA officers say they're struggling to pay their bills. Those airline CEOs describe it as unacceptable, and many travelers agree.
TSA staffing challenges are colliding with a spring break travel rush, made even worse by a weekend snowstorm in the Midwest.
Absolute mayhem, if you ask me.
More than 300 TSA officers have resigned since the partial shutdown started, and unscheduled absences have doubled, according to the federal government. President Trump blames the funding lapse on Democrats who refused to approve the Department of Homeland Security's budget unless GOP lawmakers and the White House agree to changes to ICE, including requirements for agents to wear IDs and remove their masks.
Get these guys paid.
Chris Sununu is the CEO of Airlines for America, the trade group that represents the airlines, urging Congress to act.
Please pay these employees. Have your political fights on the side, but don't drag down the entire traveling American public because of it.
The TSA says it's adjusting operations to deal with the staffing constraints.
I think the longer it goes, more and more TSOs, as they're called, will call out and not show up for work.
A union representative for 45,000 TSA officers tells us that some officers are picking up second jobs and even selling plasma to make ends meet. He says officers are tired of being, quote, political pawns in the middle of a tug of war. Jerika.
Tim McNicholas, thank you.
Tens of thousands of TSA agents are not getting paid because of a government shutdown now more than a month old. 10% thereabouts of agents called out sick yesterday. More than 300 quit entirely. What it means for long lines, for safety and security as well. Here's senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve.
Today it was Fliers at Atlanta's airport, suffering through security lines so long they took 2.5 hours to navigate. TSA staffing issues forced one of the airport's checkpoints to close. Over the weekend, this was the scene at the Austin, Texas airport. TSA sick calls have more than tripled during the shutdown nationally, just as the nation's airlines expect a record 171 million flyers for spring break.
We have a 10:30 flight. We got here 4 hours early, and we're hoping to make it for sure.
Robert Echeverria worked the TSA checkpoints at the Salt Lake City airport for 9 years, but with no paycheck or end in sight to the latest partial government shutdown, he quit.
I love the agency. I love the people that I worked with, but my family has to come first.
Was it a hard decision to leave?
It definitely was.
He's among more than 360 TSA officers who have quit since the shutdown began last month.
It's really hard. The hardest thing is seeing the struggle that my wife was going through and not trying to bring more stress to her, but seeing her cry every night and seeing her just be emotional and how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to survive?
You couldn't do that again?
I couldn't, no. Emotionally, I think I wouldn't be able to do it.
Food pantries like this one in Salt Lake City are opening at airports across the country to help fill the gap. Do you worry that it makes flying less safe?
I definitely do. Somebody's looking at an x-ray image. Are they really looking at the x-ray image, or are they worried about what are my kids doing at home? What am I going to feed my kids this afternoon?
The vast majority of TSA officers are on the job, but those sick calls are growing by the day as some simply can't afford to come to work. The disruptions are spotty but becoming more common, and now some airports are urging flyers to arrive here 3, even 4 hours before their flights, Tony.
Here comes the spring break travel season. Summer is on the horizon as well, and lots of people are wondering how worried to be about those crazy long security lines at the airport. TSA officers quitting, some calling out. They continue to go without pay. Joining us now to navigate it, Brian Kelly, founder of the Points Guy website. Brian, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
5-hour lines in at least one location. Can people prepare for that? Is that common?
Yeah, so I've witnessed the chaos firsthand at Austin Airport this Saturday, and it was lines I've never seen before. So what I'm recommending to people, if you don't have TSA PreCheck, which I highly, highly recommend getting, it's $80 for 5 years, and you can bring kids in with you. If you don't have it, I would recommend 3 hours showing up to the airport before boarding, not before departure, because there are 2.5 hour lines in some airports, and you need to build in a little safety cushion.
Is it possible to scout ahead? Can you see what the line is going to be, say, 4 hours before you leave?
Not really. The My TSA app is not funded right now, so each individual airport may report times, but these situations change fluidly. If one TSA officer doesn't come and they can't staff a checkpoint, things can expand. So don't rely totally what you see online. I highly recommend people, though, if you have TSA PreCheck, get touchless ID. Okay. You have to enroll in your loyalty program, but also Clear is also a game changer. So have as many options as possible.
If you blow it, if you miss the flight, what happens?
Well, first, before you're going to miss a flight, be savvy. Shop around for different security lines. People don't realize you don't have to go through the really long line. A lot of airports have volunteers. Be nice to those volunteers, especially if you have kids. They will often bring you to the front. But if you do miss your flight, the airlines will generally put you on standby. But I recommend use your frequent flyer miles, book yourself on another airline as a backup if you know you're going to miss your flight.
All right, Brian Kelly, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The situation at American airports has gone from bad to worse over the past 24 hours. Democrats are refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security unless Republicans agree to changes in immigration enforcement. But guess who's caught in the middle? 50,000 TSA officers working without pay amid a partial government shutdown or not working at all. About 10% of them have been calling out in recent days. And that leaves more than 2 million airline passengers a day to deal with multi-hour security lines and heightened concern about the risk of terrorism. Also late today, we learned that half the checkpoints at Philadelphia International Airport will be closed effective tomorrow. And that's not all. Senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve is all over this story for us. He joins us now. Chris, good evening. How bad could this get?
Well, Tony, it could become a situation where those 2+ hour lines become more common than not at airports across the country, and could get worse yet. If an airport can't staff its checkpoints, that airport may have to close for the day. Flyers prepare for the airport to get a lot less fun this spring break. In Denver, it was a rocky morning.
This is nuts. I've never seen DIA like this.
At the Atlanta airport, another day of wait times topping 2 hours. Nearly 40% of the airport's TSA officers called out sick Monday, forcing a checkpoint to close.
If I didn't come 2 hours earlier, I'd miss my flight. Look at this line.
And tomorrow, 3 of the TSA checkpoints at the Philadelphia airport will be closed. TSA sick calls are surging since officers missed a paycheck Friday due to the month-long partial government shutdown. Monday saw the most yet. More than 10% of officers nationwide called out. That's more than 5 times a normal day.
Our people are hurting every single day. We have individuals sleeping in their cars, drawing blood to afford to pay for gas to get to work. So the situation financially is dire for officers.
Acting Deputy TSA Administrator Adam Stahl.
If the call rate does climb, there could be scenarios where we may have to shut down airports. This is a serious situation.
And it sounds like every day this goes on, you think it's going to get worse.
Yes, the longer we do not receive funding for both the department and for TSA, this will get worse. This will not get better.
Wait times are already increasing.
We're going to make our flight. We're thinking this is probably at least an hour's wait.
At Houston's Bush Airport today, the lines hit at least 103 minutes, 86 minutes in San Juan, and an hour at Chicago O'Hare. Now, it does not sound like airport closures are imminent. First, the TSA would look to reduce the number of open lanes and then the number of open checkpoints, but particularly for smaller airports, that is a possibility. What can Flyers do? Check your airport's website before you head to the airport. Most have up-to-date wait times, and then leave yourself some extra time when you get to the airport, Tony.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Today, President Trump's nominee to run Homeland Security urged lawmakers to put aside partisanship and fund the department. But for now, TSA agents aren't getting paid, and those airport security lines are still getting longer. Senior national correspondent Mark Strassman is tracking developments at the airport in Philadelphia.
Abandoned. Half the TSA checkpoints at Philadelphia's airport. 3 of 6. Too many TSA officers were no-shows.
I hope I make it home.
Ava Carley oozed frustration. Her original flight canceled. Lines at Houston's Bush International Airport out the door. This passenger might have felt he could get through War and Peace before reaching security.
I'm here 3 hours early, so let's hope that I get through.
At airports in Houston, Atlanta, and New Orleans, more than 1/3 of TSA workers, thousands of them, called out of work. Congress shows no sign of touching the impasse, other than a DHS secretary nominee waiting to get confirmed.
But we have to get DHS funded. We have to. My friends, we have to set the partisan side down.
TSA workers also waited in line for groceries. This pop-up food bank in South Florida fed nearly 200 TSA workers and their families.
Thank you. Have a good day.
We ask that everybody's supportive of our TSA agents because they're working without a paycheck.
No paychecks, no resolution in sight, and frustration everywhere, including at Atlanta's airport. as CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry found out.
In the time that we've been here, we've seen the wait time only increase. Travelers in the main checkpoint are waiting more than an hour in line. The inconsistency and chaos is adding to the frustration for tens of thousands of daily travelers here.
And Tony, about the last thing that air travelers needed today was a power outage and a ground stop, but that's exactly what happened in Denver today. And so after a few hours, flights resumed, but then passengers had to navigate long lines all over again. Tony?
If it's not one thing, it's another. Mark, thank you very much.